Did Joe Biden set Ukraine loose because Trump won the election? So, guys, as a lot of you know, Joe Biden sat there and authorized Ukraine to use long-range missiles or weapon system to fire into or deeper into Russia. So, of course, the timing is very suspicious. And not suspicious, but we know what it is. We know that the Biden administration is disappointed that Donald Trump won the election. And because Donald Trump was talking with Russia briefly about a peaceful resolution in Ukraine, Biden does this. And this, I mean, like, this simple fact that was the first thing that entered my head when Joe Biden gave that authorization. I'm like, oh, he's trying to start the Third World War with Russia, because he's like, well, if I can't have America, nobody will. And that was his solution, was to set Ukraine loose and tell them, hey, use the long-range missiles. Now, Ukraine had received those long-range missiles, a few months ago, but were told to sit on it. And at this point, when everything was done with the election and Trump was making all these phone calls and all these articles were coming out about how he was going to create peace, he was going to sit down with these people, have these people sit down, like all of these different things are going on. And the Biden administration, because it's not Joe Biden, because we all saw that video with him walking off into the Amazon rainforest. Like, where the fuck was he going? Again, not the point. So all of that's going on, and the Biden administration's like, you know what? Release the Kraken. And that's pretty much what they did. And then they started firing into Russia, and then Russia, within probably a couple of hours of that being announced, they revised their nuclear doctrine. So now they're threatening to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine, which, again, even if they do, it's going to be small yield, tactical nukes, nothing, catastrophic. I hope not. I mean, like, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they did use something big, but I don't see them using anything too large. I think it's going to be tactical nukes, and that'll be pretty much it. But once they use tactical nukes, they put everybody else on deck, and everybody's antennas are up. Everybody's alert is at the highest level it could be once they use a tactical nuke on their enemy. So it's definitely going to be very interesting between now until Donald Trump gets into office. And even if he gets into office, guys, this might not reverse that. Now, could Donald Trump be making phone calls as we speak and telling both sides to cool it off? He could be. But the simple fact, guys, that Ukrainian President Zelensky, that piece of shit, just spoke to Donald Trump a week ago. I thought, and I didn't know what the base of that conversation was, other than that they had a conversation, and that's all the article said. And then he was on a phone call with Putin after he won the election, a couple of days after he won, and had the same conversation. So why would the Ukraine turn around and go, let's use our long-range missiles, after you just had a discussion about peace? So clearly the Biden administration wants to start some shit. They want war to start because they can't get the White House, and they want to leave the world a mess as best as they can. And a couple of you guys have said that in the comment section and said that in the chat on my live streams, that they're going to mess things up. And we all knew they were, but I thought they were going to do it here in the United States. I didn't think they were going to take it past the United States and go, you know what, let's fuck everything else up. Now I see it. I'm like, well, he did that. He allowed the Ukraine to use these missiles that they've been sitting on for some time. And now, which is very, not scary, but concerning, is that other countries are getting ready. And just before Biden released Ukraine, or gave Ukraine permission to use those long-range missiles, you had Sweden and Finland preparing their people for war. You have the British over in the Arctic Circle used a weapon system that this is their first time using, 70 miles from Russian border. So we have all of these things going on. We're like, holy shit, this could definitely turn into something before Christmas. Or if Donald Trump makes the secret phone calls that they do make that we never know about as well, everything could be squashed for now. So Moscow has definitely signaled to the West that they are ready to use nuclear weapons. And again, those nuclear weapons are going to be tactical nukes. It's not going to be anything big. At least I hope not. But the weapon system that the UK used, the British used, is this one right here. The Archer 155 millimeter gun, which has explosive round and GPS guided rounds up to 30 miles. That thing is very fucking cool. I mean, listen, I don't know much about military weapons, so when I saw that thing, they called it the Archer, I'm like, this could be fucking interesting. So, I look into it because they were like sort of bragging about it in the article, and not them, but the article that was written on it. They were like talking about how well this weapon is and what it does. And I'm like, weaponry has gotten so advanced. Again, I don't keep up with it, so when I see shit like this, I'm like, man, I'm like a child. I'm like, oh my god, that's pretty cool. Nonetheless, everybody's gearing up. The Arctic Circle, with the British over in the Arctic Circle, Sweden and Finland, right? Everybody else is on guard now because of what Ukraine did. And keep in mind, Sweden and Finland notified their people to be ready ahead of time before Ukraine launched their first missile over into Russia. Then the Russians have their nuclear shelters or mobile nuclear shelters being built into overtime now, meaning they're pumping them out and pushing as many as they possibly can. I didn't even know you can have a mobile nuclear shelter. I'm like, that's, again, science, pretty cool, and we don't have any of that going on here. None of that. And that's because I think the politicians, both left and the right, want the American citizens dead. There has to be. Because everybody else around the world is protecting their citizens, or at the very least telling them what to do should something go down. And the United States is not saying a fucking word. We're worried about, the Super Bowl and who's going to make it and what fucking, what bullshit pandemic might come our way and the tiff that's going on because Donald Trump's cabinet, no one likes who he's picking, and they're people are crying about that, protesting over Donald Trump winning. This is the shit we're worried about. Shit that's not going to matter if they start lobbing nukes at us. We should be worried, and they should not worried, but they should have the citizens of the United States start preparing for this shit again. But instead, they're not saying anything. Everybody else is worried about their people and getting their people prepared. The United States is like, what kind of shoes did Kim Kardashian have on her last show? That's the kind of shit we're worried about, and not the lives of Americans. And that falls on both the Republicans and the Democrats, because nobody is talking about how to get prepared for nuclear war, should there be one. The likeliness of a nuclear war in this country is small, but nonetheless, it's still on the fucking table. And we should be talking about it in the media, mainstream media shit, the very least entertain it and talk about some shit. But instead, they're not talking about anything. They're talking about bullshit that doesn't matter. Anyway, guys, I think that this is a declaration of war that Biden wants to start before he leaves office. Because why else would you do something like this right before Donald Trump gets into the office? They're doing it because they want to destroy as much as they can before he gets in. Other than that, guys, this is the Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching.